The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, August the 1st. I'm Donna Will, Professional Development Coordinator for the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Administration. We welcome you to the Financial Management Counseling Service Training. I'd like to introduce our panelists for today's presentation and fair. Please welcome Monica Hariri, DDA Program Manager for the Financial Management Counseling Services. Robert White, Director of Administrative Services. Rhonda Workman, Director of Federal Programs and Integrity. Christy Cobra, Statewide Coordinator of Self-Directed Services. And also today we have 3 of the new FMCS providers. Kirsten Capeless and Rob Lewis with GT Independence. Lee McCarg and Tracy Davis of ARC of Central Chesapeake. Chantel Tolley from Public Partnerships, and Sandy Kasperzak, also from Public Partnerships. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few things about the webinar. All participants are in listen-only mode. There are 2 options to hear the webinar, by computer and phone, and if you look at the panel interface on your right labeled audio, you can click either computer or phone to switch for the best option. There's a handout in the handout section in the panel, and if you are listening by phone, you can request that get emailed. We have a few polls today that we're going to conduct towards the end of the webinar. We're also recording the webinar, and we will be posting that on the DDA website. This morning's session is already posted, and any questions you have can be typed in the question or chat box in the webinar panel, and we will get to those towards the end of the presentation. So now I'd like to introduce Monica Hariri. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Donna. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. My name is Monica Hariri, and I am the FMCS Program Manager. Here's the agenda for today. We will begin with opening remarks from Secretary Carol Beatty of the Department of Disabilities, Deputy Secretary Bernie Simons of the Developmental Disabilities Administration, and Deputy Secretary Steve Hsu of Healthcare Finance and Medicaid. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Okay, give me just a second.
Thank you. As you've heard, today is an opportunity for you to meet and hear directly from the 3 new FMCS agencies. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with valuable information that will assist you during this process. Later, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. Next slide, please. Open enrollment period begins today and runs through November 15th. After November 15th, if you have not chosen an FMCS, one will be assigned for you by DDA. Anyone who currently self-directs will need to choose from one of the 3 new agencies during the open enrollment process, which again begins today and runs through November 15th. If a participant or their legal guardian or designated representative does not choose an FMCS by November 15th, one will be chosen for you. And more details about this process will be presented later with other speakers today. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, there's feedback in the background. Can everyone mute their microphones if they're not talking? Thank you. Next slide, please. Throughout the month of August, you can also elect to attend informational fairs throughout the state. During these events, participants will have an opportunity to meet the new FMCS providers in person. Registration for all events is available via Constant Contact, and there are dates and locations. The dates and locations of each of those fairs are listed below. Each session will have 2 per day. There'll be an afternoon session from 12 to 2 and an evening session from 5 to 7. Please choose the event that's most convenient for you. As the slide shows, August 4th will be in Eastern Maryland. August the 11th will be in Columbia. August the 17th will be in Hagerstown. And August the 23rd will be in Bowie. Our next presenter is Christy Cobra, the statewide coordinator of self-directed services. Next slide, please. Christy, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to be on the call with you today. As Monica mentioned, my name is Christy Cobra, and I'm the statewide coordinator for self-directed services at the DDA. I'm really excited that we're able to share this information with you today. I'd like to first review what we're talking about when we say Financial Management and Counseling Services, or FMCS. FMCS agencies will support Marylanders who self-direct their services. The FMCS will replace the use of Fiscal Management Service, or FMS. The FMCS agencies will complete the same activities and tasks that the current FMS does, with enhanced support and services, like web portals with real-time reports, so participants and their teams can log on anytime to check on their budget spending, online, phone, and in-person customer service, including a response to questions in 1 business day, smartphone and tablet apps for timekeeping and approval, and multiple languages and other accessibility features. Next slide. I'll now review the process of open enrollment for people who are currently self-directing. There are 3 steps to open enrollment. Number 1 is to learn as much as you can about each FMCS agency. Number 2, choose an FMCS agency. And then number 3, take action steps to transition to your new FMCS. Just as Monica mentioned, open enrollment for FMCSs begins today, August 1st, and will go through November 15th, 2022. If you do not choose an FMCS before November 15th, one will be chosen for you. It's important to note that if you're currently using the ARC Central Chesapeake as your FMS, you will still need to choose an FMCS agency during open enrollment. You may choose any of the 3 FMCSs, including the ARC CCR. Next slide. The first step in open enrollment is to learn about the new FMCS agencies. Today, Connect with each FMCS and ask them questions that are specific to you. In our slides, we have contact information from each FMCS so that you can contact them outside of this meeting to discuss more. Meet with your team and talk about what you've learned today. You can use your CCS, support broker, and other team members to help you make this decision. Next slide. The next step in open enrollment is to choose an FMCS. Participants who are currently self-directing may choose to start their new FMCS services on October 1st, 2022 or January 1st, 2023. Choosing an effective date gives the person and the team time to meet and transition with their new FMCS. The October and January 1st dates are both at the beginning of a tax quarter, making the transition as simple as possible for participants, employees, and their vendors. When you decide on an FMCS, you must tell your coordinator of community services. The CCS will confirm your choice and complete the FMCS participant choice form. The CCS will then assign the agency to you in LTSS, Maryland. Next slide. The final step in open enrollment is to take action steps to transition to your chosen FMCS. With the support of your CCS and other team members, update your budget sheet to include the FMCS fees. The newest version of the self-directed budget sheet includes a line item for your FMCS and has helpful tools to help you calculate how many months you need to budget for. Make sure your employees and vendors know your FMCS choice. Let them know that there will be no missed payments during the transition process. And meet with your new FMCS team to make sure all your employees and vendors have the correct paperwork for payment. The FMCS team will show you all of their processes during this time. Next slide. The steps for choosing an FMCS are different for people who are considering self-direction right now and for those who may be transitioning to self-direction right now. For people who are considering self-direction, these are folks who want to transition from the traditional model to self-direction or transitioning youth who are choosing self-direction for the first time. If you're one of those folks, please make sure that you learn as much as you can today and going forward about each FMCS agency. You can connect with any of the agencies using the contact information we provide after. Once you have chosen an FMCS, you'll need to choose an effective date to start your services. For you, this date does not need to be October 1st or January 1st. You can start your self-directed services at any time. Your CCS will send a service referral to your chosen FMCS in LTSS, Maryland. But CCSs, please remember, you do not need to complete the participant FMCS choice form. That's the Google form for people who are starting to self-direct. That form is only for people who are currently self-directing. Next slide. Once you've chosen your FMCS and are ready to begin your self-direction journey, you'll need to make sure your PCP and budget are complete. Your PCP, the participant agreement, rights and responsibilities documentation, SIP, and other documents that show assessed need will be sent to the DDA for approval in LTSS. After the DDA approves your PCP, you will send your budget sheet, your family of staff form, and any wage exception forms to your chosen FMCS. They will make sure those documents meet program standards before you can begin your self-directed services. Next slide. Now I'd like to address any folks who have recently submitted a self-direction PCP in late July or plan to submit one in the next week. You also should learn as much as you can about each FMCS. After listening today, you can connect with any of those agencies using the contact information we provide. And then you'll choose your effective date. This date can be any date that you want your services to begin. If you've next slide. I'm sorry, Donna. If you've recently submitted an initial plan or want to send one in the next week, your take action steps will be a little bit different. You should use the updated budget sheet to include the FMCS fees for every month of the year. Submit your PCP and budget sheet and all documentation together to the DDA. Meet with your chosen FMCS to start your services when your PCP and budget are approved by the DDA. Yeah, I know that was a lot of information. If you have any questions about what you need to do in the next months to choose an FMCS, please contact your SDS lead in your region. I'm also happy to provide any support as well. Now I'll turn it back over to Monica to introduce our FMCS agencies.
Thank you, Christy. Now we'll hear from our FMCS agencies. GT Independence will go first, the ARC of Central Chesapeake region next, and then Public Partnerships. Hi, Kirsten.
Hey, Monica.
Hello,
Next
everyone.
slide.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica. So first, I just want to thank you, Monica, for allowing us to present here. We're very excited to be one of the three great providers that you have to choose from. So I want to tell you a little bit about GT Independence. Next slide, please. What we're going to cover today is just a little bit of background on GT, customer service and what it means to GT Independence and what you can expect from us. A little bit on the enrollment process and how we will enroll brand new individuals and new providers that you may hire ongoing. How you'll submit your time through GT's Caregiver App, what resources and reports and tools are available in the GT portal, and then contact information and rates for GT Independence. Next slide. So first, a little bit about GT Independence. We began providing financial management and counseling services back in 2004. This is the only two services that we provide. So we don't have any other lines of revenue or business that we do. It's strictly this niche market of financial management and counseling services. The company was started based off of Ben back in the early 2000s. He is the oldest son of our two owners. And really, they just wanted to make sure that he wasn't having to receive services in a group home or in a facility-based care. Fast forward 18 years, and now we've got our new CEO, Holly Carmichael, and her daughter, Maggie, here, who receive services. And all of our technology that we're going to show you today have been vetted by our participant feedback committees to ensure that it removes any barriers to self-direction and is the easiest product for individuals to use. Next slide. So GT Independence prides itself on customer service, and I want to give you a couple of metrics and statistics that we have here. Next slide, please. So GT averages a 35-second time for an individual to talk to a live person at GT. We do this through a sophisticated call routing software where you'll be routed to an individual that's an expert on all Maryland programs, any questions from how to utilize our app to any program questions, they'll be able to answer that right away. We average a 90% first call resolution. So we don't track how long you're on the phone with one of our customer service associates. We really want to make sure that you get your questions answered right away. And for those 10% that aren't answered on the first call, we average 1 business day or on average 8 hours to resolve that request. We do biannual customer satisfaction surveys with participants, employees, and CCSs to ensure that we're meeting the needs of all stakeholders, and we averaged a 97.1% satisfaction on those surveys. And then we're very culturally sensitive. We've got 22, between our customer service department, we speak 22 different languages, and then we're able to access over 200 different languages through a third-party assistant. Next slide, please. When it comes to GT referrals and enrollments, I want to go over what you should expect from us here. Next slide. So as we receive the referral, we're going to immediately start doing the employee eligibility checks to ensure that your provider is eligible to provide services. From there, we will confirm and schedule the meeting with all stakeholders. Then we go and do the enrollment. That enrollment can either be done face-to-face or through a video conferencing tool. And then we provide follow-up and ongoing services. We average 3 to 5 business days from the time we get referral to when that individual is enrolled over the last quarter. Next slide, please. So how some of the software that we use to enroll folks is called a platform called GT Enroll. It's 100% electronic. The reason we went to an electronic enrollment is really to speed up the process to ensure that people can receive their service as quickly as possible. So we have enrolled new people. Like I said, the average is 3 to 5, but we've enrolled a person within an hour of receiving a referral, as long as everybody has the information and is ready to go over the paperwork. So we pride ourselves in really expediting that process to onboard new referrals or onboard new providers. All of this is accessible through any computer, tablet, or smartphone. And it's all HIPAA secure, so you don't have to worry about any of your information being at risk. Next slide. I'm going to pass it over to Kirsten to talk about our Caregiver App.
Thank you so much. Next slide, please. GT's Caregiver App is how we do timekeeping at GT Independence. It is EBV compliant, which is now required in Maryland. But on top of that, it's really easy to use. We have an over 75% voluntary adoption rate, with over 90% of the individuals saying they found it easy to use. Not only does it track your hours, and it tracks all the EBV requirements like location, GPS setting, but just when you clock in and clock out. So we're not tracking you all the time by any means, just those 2 data points in order to give Maryland what they need to meet the CMS requirements. In addition, we've built in a lot of different features, like the notes and task feature. That allows you to select the task that you completed on the shift, and also use a microphone button and do voice to text notes, so you can get all the notes right in there. We have free download for iOS, Apple, Android. We also have it available in both English and Spanish. Next slide, please. The app allows for the caregiver or employee to track their hours, and then during that same shift, they can pass it right over to the participant, which allows the participant to sign off on the hours right then and there. You also have the option to sign off on the hours after the fact. So if there's a representative or an employer of record, they can do that from our GT portal later. The participant could do that as well. Next slide, please.
One additional thing that I just want to add about the Caregiver app is on the app, you'll be able to see if those shifts have been automatically uploaded to GT. So you'll see in green that GT has received this shift. And if a shift needs correction, it will show in red that this shift still needs additional information. So it's a very quick at-a-glance view for both the participant and the employee to notice if their shift has been uploaded successfully.
Such a great point, Rob. You know, and one other point I might add before we dive into the GT portal is our app works with or without internet services. So don't worry if you live in a more rural part of Maryland. We have worked with states like Maine that are considered very rural, very mountainous, and don't have good internet coverage. And we've been able to bring them to 100% compliance. So the way that might work is we figure out free Wi-Fi in the area, or you might hook into your home's Wi-Fi if you need to have. So we're able to really help problem solve right at the table. We also help you figure out how to get a device. Some people are able to qualify for free devices through CMS. If not, we have devices on hand that we're able to loan people in order to complete that part of their requirements. So talking about the GT portal, our app links directly to the GT portal. Next slide, please. Our GT portal allows you to have real-time reporting available right at your fingertips. We know putting information in the hands of the individuals using services is the most powerful way to allow you to self-direct your own services. You'll have every single piece of information you're looking to have, including your day-to-day budget and expenditures. Your employees are able to see their pay stubs, their W-2s, you are able to dive in deep on any level that you'd like. So from the portal dashboard, which is the screen you're seeing right now, there's a couple things I'd love you to know. First of all, you can see here there's 0 unread notifications. But if you were logging into your own portal and we had something important to share with you, we're able to push a notification right to you, and you can see it right then and there when you log in. Also, right below there is the pinned report section. We have over 13 standard reports plus customized reports just for Maryland. You can pick all your favorite views of the information that you want to see on a regular basis and pin it right there. So when you log in, it's ready to go and you can just use that report. Down the left side, there are a bunch of buttons that you can push on things that you probably want to get to a little more often. So the reports tab lets you go straight to all the reports, every one of them. The paid timesheets tab lets you see all of the timesheets right then and there. And then the notifications tab is letting you know any notifications that are available. Support is just amazing. You can actually click and get live support right inside of the portal. So if you have a question and you're not sure what you're looking at, or you just have any particular how to use the portal questions or your own information, you can click and access a live person by phone or by texting chat. Next slide, please. So the resources tab, which I skipped a second ago because I knew we were going to come see it on this tab, gives you lots of information right at your fingertips as well. It gives you the portal user guide as well as the Caregiver App user guides. It also gives you very specific information you may want to know as you're managing your employees. Next slide, please. One of my favorite features of our portal is the Caregiver Link. Inside of the Caregiver Link, you actually have access to a directory of caregivers that are looking for additional hours. So as we enroll people into the Maryland service, we actually ask the employees, are they looking to receive extra hours? Would they want to be listed in our directory? If they say yes, then they're right there in the directory. As you look to fill your hours, you're able to search by zip code, you can search by language spoken, quite a few other filters available, and get a list of employees that are ready to work, and you can still hire from that list, but you get to interview first, so the control is still yours to have. Next slide, please. So when you're going to contact us, you can contact us via email at our customer service email, or you can call our 877 toll-free number that Rob was talking about, where you get a person in under 35 seconds. We also have quite a lot of information on our website. We wanted to make sure you know that the per member per month fee for GT services is $123 a month. We also work hard to make sure we have competitive caregiver wages. We're always analyzing our taxes and workers' comp rates in order to make sure we pass on all the savings to you and your caregivers so you can pay them the very most that's available.
Next slide. So I know we just provided a ton of information on some of the technology that you would use with GT. We also provide all of these additional services. I'm not going to go in detail about these, but we're more than just a payroll company. We want to be a partner for you and your employee. We look forward to any questions that you may have regarding GT Independence and our services. Next slide. And if you have questions, I know you're going to get a copy of this. Here are our 2 main contacts for you to be able to reach out to, in addition to that toll-free number. Thank you so much, Monica and everyone, and we look forward to serving you and talking with you in the future.
Thank you, GT Independence. Next up is the ARC of Central Chesapeake Region. Next slide, please. Tracy Lee.
Thank you, Monica. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Davis, and I'm Vice President of Self-Directed Initiatives for the ARC. Co-presenting with me today is Lee McHarg, Director of Employer Resources. Lee and I will be sharing with you what we think would be helpful for you to know about the ARC as you're assessing your provider options. We also want to express that we are grateful that the Maryland Department of Health insured participants would continue to have choice in their FMCS provider under this new service contract. It's important that participants have a say in who supports them. Next slide, please. When getting to know an organization, it's worth looking at the company's roadmap. That begins with a review of the company's vision, mission, and values. You can see the ARC's focus is on the person living the life they choose. The ARC's role is to promote access to the services. They need help to make that happen. Next slide, please. It's also important to look at a company's history. The ARC Central Chesapeake region started with a promise by a group of parents who envisioned a different future for their children that was available to them in 1961. Since then, the ARC has grown dramatically and now supports thousands of people with disabilities and their families each year. The ARC's programs and services support the full spectrum of a person's life, from birth to retirement and all the joys and opportunities in between. Next slide. At this time of open enrollment, we know you have a choice regarding who supports you throughout your self-directed journey, and it's an important one. We want you to have all the information you need to make the most informed decision. Why should you choose the ARC? We think the ARC's history with self-direction in Maryland, our relationships with key stakeholders, our customer-centric approach, and our commitment to transformation are all important reasons why the ARC stands out as a clear choice. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand things over to Lee.
Thank you, Tracy. The ARC has shown its commitment to self-direction by serving self-directed Marylanders for nearly 20 years. The ARC continues its commitment to self-direction in Maryland by building the necessary infrastructure to support the growth and fulfill the need for robust program integrity and accountability. As a longtime Maryland-based nonprofit organization, the ARC has developed valuable institutional knowledge from its experience and believes that continuity of service is of paramount importance. The ARC currently serves 1,800 program participants statewide. Next slide, please. On your self-directed journey, you need someone you can count on who knows Maryland-based resources, advocacy groups, and key contacts you need to know. Across the ARC's 60 years as a Maryland provider and nearly 2 decades of serving self-directed participants, we have developed deep-rooted community connections that will benefit you. The ARC has participated in Maryland-based support broker agencies and centers for independent living with whom we have long-standing relationships to ensure FMCS counselors are available in participants' local communities across the state. Due to our legacy services, the ARC has also developed networks with CCS agencies, as well as veteran support brokers and administrators for the state of Maryland. Next slide, please. The ARC takes a customer-centric approach towards services. In self-direction, you are the boss, but understanding how we can help you is critical. It's our role to provide you with the information you need to make these important decisions. We have an experienced team ready to help you navigate common challenges. The ARC prioritizes timely, professional, and thorough responses to your inquiries. Based on the 2021 Annual Participant Satisfaction Survey results, 98% of participants agree that the ARC team is professional and courteous. And 97% report the likelihood that they will continue to rely on the ARC as their provider. The ARC is here because of you and here for you. Next slide, please. For those currently being served by the ARC, you will notice the state's new program requirements and processes. But we will work with those we serve to successfully maneuver and adapt to the new requirements. While there will still be some changes that you can expect, we are committed to continuing to deliver a high level of service and support to navigate the changes and safeguard service continuity. We will build the bridge for our participants to new tools, providing automation and a modern approach to our legacy services. Through the implementation of new software, we will ensure we can establish the compliance the state requires while making self-direction easier and more convenient than ever. Tracy?
Next slide, please. Thank you. So FMS Engine, our new purpose-built software, is launching this fall, and it will add transparency to our services and will make information easier to access. The ARC knows that when you choose to self-direct, you experience greater autonomy and at the same time accept much more responsibility. Well, FMS Engine will act like a personal assistant to ensure everything gets done right. And here are just some of the benefits. The system provides a participant dashboard for real-time spending information, so you know exactly where things stand. The system automatically links to your budgets, for your payments for your budget, so you'll know what's been processed and what hasn't, what's still pending. Automated employee onboarding is also available through the self-service portal, which will help ensure the ARC receives correctly completed forms for your new hires. And it's HIPAA compliant and secure when sharing new hire information. Your team has access to electronic timekeeping to ensure electronic visit verification or EVV compliance. Online training resources will be available for you and your employees very, very soon. And logging in is super easy. You can use it anywhere there's an internet connection. We're really excited about how FMS Engine will make self-directing easier for those we serve. Much more information about FMS Engine will be coming soon, so please be on the lookout. You may have even received an email today. Next slide, please. All participants served by the ARC will be assessed a $200 monthly FMCS fee. That's our per member per month fee. Also, the ARC will use the same 14% rate for taxes and employer-related fees you are accustomed to using through the budget process. That rate may differ from provider to provider and can impact your costs, so it's important to be aware of it. Beyond their traditional role of the FMCS, the ARC is bringing the value-added benefits that we discussed during this presentation. You'll benefit from the ARC's 20-year history as a nonprofit Maryland provider in self-direction, our relationships with key Maryland stakeholders, our customer-centric approach, as well as our commitment to supporting you through this challenging transition. If you are an ongoing participant, you will also benefit from the ease of service continuity. Ongoing participants will not need to re-enroll as an employer, nor will they need to submit new hire paperwork for their employees if nothing has changed. And that avoids the potential for any disruption of services at a time of transition. However, please remember that all participants, even those staying with the ARC, must work with their CCS to complete and submit the FMCS provider selection no later than November 15th, or they will be assigned a provider. So keep that in mind. Next slide, please. Based on annual participant satisfaction survey results from the last 3 years, participants and their teams have provided a lot of great feedback, which we at the ARC have used as a barometer to determine how we're doing in the eyes of those we serve. These are just some direct quotes we'd like to share from those surveys. Quote, "We appreciate the commitment and quality you bring to your services and the timely way staff responds to questions and concerns." Quote, "A lot of great folks that really care about folks with disabilities. We've really come to love working with the ARC. They are quick to respond about any concerns we have. They provide a great service and they just keep getting better all the time. Highly recommended." And lastly, quote, "Payroll services and accounts payable team members are awesome. They're always polite and answer all questions in an easy to understand explanation." And those are just a few of our favorites we wanted to share with you. Next slide. We are hopeful that the information that Lee and I have shared this evening helps you to better understand the benefits of choosing the ARC as your FMCS provider. But if you still have questions, we're here for you. Our website is our one-stop shop for tons of great information about the enrollment process or other questions you might be leaving with. You are also welcome to reach out and give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your time to learn about our organization, and the ARC looks forward to working with you. MDH, new stakeholders, and additional FMCS providers to support Marylanders with disabilities and self-direct. Thank you so much. Thank you. Takes back over. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Lee. And now we'll hear from public partnerships. Next slide, please. Chantel?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, evening for some. I'm Chantel Tavley. I'm with Public Partnerships. I also have my colleague, Sandy Kasperzak, here as well. She'll be answering during the question and answer section. You can go to the next slide. So we're going to talk today about 3 reasons you want to choose PPL or Public Partnerships as your FMCS choice. But first, I want to let you know that PPL is not new to this. We've been doing FMS services since 1999. We're one of the first FMSs to actually start providing services through the Robert Wood Foundation. And so we're pretty experienced in these services. And so we're excited to get back into the state of Maryland. Here we have a participant, Anita Paris. She's been self-directing with PPL since 2018. We can move on to the next slide. So today I'm going to talk to you about 3 benefits of why you would choose PPL. So we're going to talk about the financial benefits, right? Everyone wants to know what's that fee, what are the fees associated with this, so we'll talk through that. We'll also talk about what's the ease of getting started, how quickly can you get enrolled with us, and what does that look like? And then we'll also talk about our experience at PPL to give you the peace of mind you need to know you've chosen the right FMCS for you. Next slide. Thank you. So here you're going to see Sergio and Osmel Martinez. There are also some participants who've been self-directing with PPL directly since 2019. Now we can go to the next slide and talk about those financial benefits to you and your loved ones. So PPL is the lowest cost FMCS choice at $83. That means that you may have between $480 and $1,400 per year additional funds to use in your budget. That's a pretty significant amount for your FMS fees to be so low. We can go ahead and move on to the next one. How do you use that spend that extra money? A new piece of equipment, new service maybe, more hours of care. Maybe you need some more respite hours. You'll be able to use that additional funding in your budget based on the fact that PPL has the lowest FMS fee to make sure that you have additional services that are needed by the participant. As we all know, having services and supports is very important, and you want to make sure that you have all the funding you have available to do that. Here we have some of our participants that have been self-directing since 2018, and that's the Colsons. You can move on to the next slide, please. So next we're going to talk about another financial benefit that we launched with PPL recently that is amazing, and that is making any day payday for your providers. And that's through our Daily Pay mobile application, which is also integrated with our PPL Time for Care mobile application. With this service, it allows for your in-home providers to access their money on any day to pay their bills and potentially avoid late fees. That late fee could be $5, $6, $15, but if they choose to use the anytime, any payday, daily pay service, they're going to have a 49-cent fee per usage. So that means that maybe they are going to be late on paying a bill and they have access to those funds immediately, so they don't have to wait those 2 weeks for the paycheck to come. Those funds will come directly out of their paycheck, so it doesn't have any impact to the participant's budget. No participant pays for this service. It's an enhancement that we gave to our providers to make sure that they're able to access those funds they need, continue to come to work, provide those services that you so desperately need. We can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Next, we're going to talk about the ease of getting started and managing your self-directed life with PPL. Here we have Jeff Coursey. He's been directing with PPL since 2020. We can move on to the next slide. So how do you get started and how do you manage your services with PPL? So first, you're going to contact your CCS coordinator today, and then you're going to say, I want to be assigned to PPL. Once you do that and we get that assignment, your one point of contact is going to call you from PPL, and they're going to walk you through all of the paperwork. They're going to train you on all of our systems. So you're going to get someone who will walk through everything with you. They'll answer all of your questions, and they'll be there for you throughout the process to make sure that you understand PPL systems. Your PPL enrollment specialist will be the one who's going to be the person answering the calls. And of course, we do have a customer service line where you can answer questions that you may have, and they'll be able to assist you. I'll also have my contact information as well as another colleague who's also another main point of contact in the chat for you all. So you can contact one of us as well as our direct contact person that's going to be a few slides later, and we'll be happy to assist with any questions that you have. PPL does have our online portal, which I'll talk about shortly, our mobile application, and then we have some additional tools that'll be helpful for you as you continue in the process. Here you'll see our customer service number, our email address, and then our website, publicpartnerships.com/MDSD. There you'll be able to find all the information that you need. You can contact us on there as well, and you can also chat our teams as well on there. We can go ahead into the next slide. So next we're going to talk about our My Account system. So this My Account system has been tested and proven to be useful for our participants because we got feedback from all of the participants throughout all the states that were in, 22 of them, to make sure that we created a system that is going to be for the participants, that's going to be easy. So it has a personalized dashboard. It has simple graphics for you, so not too much going on, very easy, push a button, you get to the information that you need. There's also real-time notifications. There's some e-signatures in there, and you can access through your laptop, tablets, even your smartphone. So some people don't have computers, so maybe you want to use your smartphone to be able to go into the web browser and search for our My Account system. You can actually use it on there. Also, the case managers, the participants, as well as your authorized representatives and care and support workers have access to My Account. The important part to note is that everyone has their own access level. So your providers are not going to have access to your budget. They're not going to be able to see how much you pay other people, anything like that. We make sure that they're only able to log in, do their time, view their paychecks and stubs, as well as their W-2s online. And then you as an employer and participant have all the tools that you need to be able to self-direct your services easily. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. Next, we're going to talk about our Time for Care mobile application. That is an application that was developed and patented by PPL, so it is our product. It is fully integrated with our EVV solution in 13 states. So what that means is your providers are going to use this mobile application to clock in, clock out. They're also going to have that location capture. And just so you know, we're only capturing their location at that couple moments when they're actually clocking in and clocking out. We don't track them throughout the day, so they don't have to worry about that. And then also they have the ability to manually enter their time or edit their time because things happen where they need to adjust the times that they've been providing services. And then you as an employer have the ability to actually approve your provider's time in our mobile application. That same username and password that worked in the My Account system is what you're going to use to log into our Time for Care system. And just so you all know, Time for Care is a free mobile application that you can use on iOS and Android systems. Most people have iPhones, Samsung Galaxies, iPads, Galaxy tablets. So you can use that on one of those devices free. Just download it in your Apple Store or in your Google Play Store, and you'll be able to download this mobile app. It allows for you also as an employer to track if your providers are actually complying with the required EVV. That means that when you click on the My EVV Details tab, you'll have the ability to see how many percentages of the time your providers are actually being accurately clocking in and clocking out when they're supposed to. And again, remember, we're going to train you. So we'll show you how to look at all of these things, show you how to track this and make sure that your providers are in compliance with the rules. And the hope is that everyone gets to that goal of 90% above. We can go to the next slide. So then the next thing we're going to talk about, and the final thing, is what is PPL's experience for your peace of mind? This is a participant, Teresa, and they've been self-directing since 2018. We can move on to the next slide. So PPL actually is not new to Maryland. So we were in Maryland for 7 years, and it was 2 fixed contracts that we actually served. We did have a question earlier of why we left. So PPL did leave after our contract ended, and that was due to the state changing the rules related to self-directed services, and so they stopped having us as an FMS until they got those rules changed and through the Department of Labor rules. And so we came on back once it was time for us to be able to do so. Also, want to make sure that you know we proudly serve your neighbors. We've been in West Virginia since 2006, Pennsylvania since 2012, and the state of Virginia since 2012 as well. We have 23 years of experience, as I said earlier, and we're in 22 states. So we got a lot of experience in supporting the individuals that are self-directing their care. Our office there in Maryland is in Baltimore, so we're welcome to see everyone. Come visit us, check us out, have any questions. We can definitely do demos for you, ensure that you understand our systems, and make sure we're a good fit for you. We know the IDD community. We can go to the next slide, please. So as I said, there's some financial benefits to you if you choose public partnerships as your FMS. there's also the ease of getting started. So we have that one point of contact that's going to assist you. They're going to train you. They're going to make sure that you understand how to use our systems, so that all you have to worry about is making sure your providers are coming to provide services and clicking a couple buttons to approve time and review time, and then making sure you get the services that you deserve, and we handle the rest. And then the last part is just that experience. PPL has been doing this for quite a while, and so we're looking forward to supporting you and serving you in the state of Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you, FMCS providers. If anyone has any questions for a specific agency, please use the information as provided here in their slide. They have the names of their contacts, email addresses, and phone numbers for your use. Next slide, please. Here are Dda Self-Directed Leads. Again, Christy Cobra, who you heard from earlier, she is our Dda statewide coordinator. Her information is listed here, as well as all of the SDS leads for our regions. Next slide, please. Here are DDA's web pages, and these resources and tools are available to you. They're also listed in this presentation, but there's a wealth of knowledge on DDA's web pages as well. Next slide, please. And now we're at our poll questions, and I'll turn it over to Donna. Thank you.
All righty. We have 4 polls today. And the first one is, why did you come to the FMCS Information Fair today? So that's we'll give you, I don't know, 30 seconds to respond. So there's 4 responses here. Looks like about half of you have voted. All right, we'll give it 10 more seconds. Okay, we're going to close the poll and share the results. So it looks like 55% said to learn about each of the FMCSs so that they can make a decision. 34% to learn about each FMCS to help others make decisions. 11% I said I was interested in the new FMCS agencies, and no one said I don't know. So thank you for that one. The second poll is coming up. All right, so this one, let us know what you think about today's informational session. And there's 4 responses. All right, looks like most of you have voted. Give it 10 more seconds. And then we're going to close the poll. Okay, and now here the results. So it looks like 36% said it was clear and informative, 46% said it was good, I learned a few things, and 17% said neutral, and 1% said it was not helpful. Okay, and I think this is the third poll. For family members and participants only. So if you're not a family member or participant, you don't have to answer this question. Okay, so the question is, do you need more information in order to make a choice on an FMCS agency? Looks like about half voted. I'm gonna leave it open for 10 more seconds. I'll close the poll. And share. Okay, 16% said yes, I need much more information. 38% said yes, I have a few questions to ask each FMCS. 38% said no, I will think about what I learned and make a choice. And then 8% said no, I'm going to make a choice now. So one more poll. Would you attend FMCS related webinars if offered on a regular basis? And you should see that pop up now. Okay, it looks like almost 80% has voted. So I'm going to close it and share the results. Okay, 73% said yes, they would attend. 2% said no, and 25% said they aren't sure. Okay, thank you so much for participating in the polls.
Next slide, please, Donna. Thank you. And so at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Rhonda Workman, and she will facilitate the questions.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, panelists and attendees, for joining us today. Just a reminder that in your right panel for the webinar, there is a spot where you can put in your questions. So please, if you have questions for the FMCS agencies, please go in and put those questions in there, and we'll be reading those. So the first question we have is for GT independents. The question is, will support brokers have access to the GT portal?
Thank you. Support brokers do have access to the GT portal with their participants. We have multiple views available in the GT portal, including participants, caregivers, CCSs, state agency, and then, like I said, the support brokers.
Great, thank you. The next question is, GT independence chooses the caregiver wage, question mark.
So that's a great question. It's not GT independence that's selecting the caregiver wages. It's going to be up to the participant and specified in their plan to be able to decide what wages they want to pay their staff. There are some requirements such as ensuring people pay at least minimum wage. But other than that, it will be up to the individual to select those wages.
Great, thank you. The next question is, can each of the vendors talk about their fees, especially any costs that are not covered by the monthly fees? So we'll start with GT. Can you share your fees and any costs that are not covered by the monthly fees?
Absolutely. We have $123 per member per month fee, and that's an all-inclusive rate. So every single thing that we provide is included right inside of that same rate.
Great.
Right. So just to add to that, there are no additional fees that are added for any service that we provide.
Thank you. Tracy from the ARC, can you share your fees and if there's any costs that are not covered by the monthly fees?
Absolutely. So our per member per month fee is $200. There are no other costs other than that, what we call the fringe rate, which is a rate that's on the budgets that would somehow be money coming to the FMCS. So included in that fringe are fees for employer-related expenses like workers' compensation coverage and unemployment insurance, but that's all wrapped into that 14% covered by the total fringe cost. So other than that, it's just the PMPM, which is $200.
Great, thank you. And PPL, can you share your fees and if there's any additional costs not covered by the monthly fees?
PPL's fee, again, is $83 for the PMPM. And then as it relates to the employer taxes, that fee is actually 12.11%. That does include workers' compensation. So that means that the employer taxes as well as the workers' compensation rate will come out of the worker's hourly wage that's chosen by the employer. And that does come out of the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question is, again, for all three agencies. How long does it take the provider to put employee changes like new rates or new services in their system? So GT, can you share how long it takes to put providers or new employees changes like new rates in your system?
Sure. Thank you so much, Rhonda. I just wanted to add to the previous question, as there are employer payroll taxes that are related to every participant within this program. So GT also has the 14% employer payroll tax that is being reviewed and looked to see if we can reduce that at any rate. But I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that as well. When it comes to pay rates and any changes to contact information or anything for a participant or a provider, all of those should be done within 1 day. Most of those requests, like I talked about earlier, are done over the phone and completed on that phone call. As long as we have all the supporting documentation, it's a pretty instant change within our system.
Thank you.
All the components of our system. So we have the developers right on staff. We have over 25 systems engineers. So if there's any changes that need to happen, whether they be full system Maryland changes or specific program changes, we're able to do it right then and there.
Thank you. Tracy, can you share how long it takes for your agency to put employees changes like new rates or new services in your system?
Absolutely. So right now we will be tasked with ensuring that all of the rates fall within the state's reasonable and customary. So upon receipt of the budget sheet from the participant and their team, we'll review the rates against the reasonable and customary and ensure that they fall within the guidelines. If they do not, we'll have to reach out to the team and ensure we receive the wage sheets from the team to ask for an increase that exceeds the reasonable customary and ensure that that receives approval. I would say an estimated 1 to 2 weeks based on the response from the team. So it really depends on how quickly the team is able to turn around those responses to us, and we can get them set up within the next pay period.
Thank you, Tracy. And PPL, can you share how long it takes for you to put employee changes like new rates or new services in your system?
So for an employer to change their provider's rates and employees' rates, it's actually self-service at PPL. So they're going to have the ability to log into our My Account system and change it right in our system. As long as it's within that customary rate scale, we will have that in our system already. So they'll know what their customary rate scale is, and then the employer can just go in, make the change, and it'll be effective at the start of that next pay period. And we also provide a schedule so employers know when they should probably put the change in, just to make sure that their provider is getting that change as soon as possible, so they don't have to wait too many weeks. And then when it comes to actual changes to service codes, if there's service codes that are added or additions to actual rates, PPL makes those changes as we receive those requests from the staff there at the state. So we'll make sure that we get those into place. And again, employers will have the ability to self-service themselves. So once those rates are in our system, they're going to be able to get those in immediately, and within that next payroll, be able to pay those out.
Thank you. And Chantel, this next question is for PPL too. You talked about the rapid pay. The question is, can vendors use the PPL rapid pay?
So daily pay is actually a service that's for independent providers and not actual vendors. But we do offer the ability to deposit onto daily those rapid pay cards, they're debit cards. So that may be where that's coming from. And with those rapid debit cards, we can deposit onto those. And I believe those cards allow for the providers to access or vendors to access those funds immediately. But with daily pay, which is different, independent providers have access to those funds as long as they pay that fee and agree to that. On that day, they'll be able to have access to those funds prior to the actual payroll being run and them receiving their regular check.
Great, thank you. This is a question for all the agencies again, so we'll start back with GT. The question is, how fast do employees get approved at each agency? So how fast do you do that employee onboarding process?
Sure, our employee onboarding process is part of our enrollment process. So for the initial enrollment, it's on average 3 to 5 days from the point that we sit down with you until everyone's fully enrolled, including the employees. That being said, we have had instances where people needed employees to start very quickly, and our quickest was in under an hour. So we're able to prioritize when a need exists and we need to move even faster, but 3 to 5 days is our standard.
Great, thank you. Tracy from the ARC, how fast do employees get approved at the ARC?
I'm going to hand this one over to Lee. Lee is our Director of Employer Resources, oversees the onboarding team.
So we have a system set up where it's a tiered system. If packets come in and every piece of paper is signed, every piece of paper is there, it's a full, complete packet, it's processed right away. We can get it turned around in 24 to 48 hours. And that depends on the background as well, if there's no hits on the background. Then we have a tier 2. We guarantee that in 5 days. That's if just 2 or 3 things are missing, a quick signature or something, we send it back to the team, get that, run everything, as long as, once again, backgrounds are fine. That can be 3 to 5 days. And then anything above that that's missing more information is a little bit more complex. That can take about a week, maybe a little bit longer. But it does depend on the actual employee themselves.
Thank you. And PPL, can you share how fast do employees get approved at your agency?
At Public Partnerships, we actually have self-service. So again, our enrollment specialist is going to assist the employer and their providers in completing all of their paperwork in our My Account system. So that paperwork is going to go through, everything's going to be checked. We'll do all the checklists to ensure that it's done. And then we'll also be running that background check as soon as that consent form is signed by that provider. So in a perfect world, the background check takes about 3 to 5 days for that to actually be complete. And the enrollment in an ideal situation is going to be done in one sitting. So the participant and employer works with our enrollment specialist, and then hopefully they already know who their provider is. And then for those folks that are transferring, they do. And so we'll have the opportunity to work with them. So it all really is going to depend on how quickly the participant and their providers are available to complete the enrollment. But as soon as our team is working with them, 3 to 5 days is usually the amount of time. Again, background checks, as all FMCSs have said, can take time. So that's going to be dependent upon whether or not they have to search in different states, different things like that. So ideal setting is about 3 to 5 days.
And I did want to add, if a health-related issue is identified, that we would expedite those packets.
Great, thank you. Monica, this is a question for you. Who is setting the rates for the FMCS agency? Why is there such a range, as it seems they're all are offering almost the same service? Can you talk about why there's different rates?
Hi, yes, I can. We did a procurement process, and each agency was able to submit their proposal through that process, and then we evaluated their rates, and that's where they came from. It was through the procurement process.
Great, thank you. We had one person share that they've learned a lot and wanted to know if they're allowed to sign off now. Please, yes, if you'd like to sign off, feel free to do that. We will have this information on our website. As we've mentioned, we've already posted the session from this morning, but if you have the information that you need or unable to continue, please feel free to go ahead and sign off. There was a question about, have you considered organizing an event in the Southern region? Monica, do you want to talk about the in-person event for the Southern region?
Yes, I'm here. We will have a in-person fair at the Bowie Conventional Center, and that information is embedded in this slide. So in the slides, so you can click on that information and register from the slides. So those will be provided as well.
Great, thank you.
Also, you can contact, sorry, Rhonda. Also, you can contact your SDS lead for the Southern region and get more information if you need some assistance in doing so.
Thank you. This question is for GT. Does GT Independence vet the caregivers who are interested in additional hours?
Thank you for the question. We do vet the caregivers that are interested in additional hours and listed in our caregiver link that I had talked about earlier today. So they have already passed the background check and qualified to deliver services in Maryland and are available to take on additional participants.
And the only other thing I would add, Rhonda, is that if they were to be hired by another participant, they would go through another background check process, just so that individual has the most recent and up-to-date information.
Great, thank you. The next question is also for GT. It says, for GT Independence, is there a manual timekeeping option available for the participants' employees?
So we have our Caregiver App that I talked about, and in addition, inside of our Caregiver App, there is a manual process. Should somebody be allowed to submit without the EVV required information. So some states do things like living caregiver exemptions, and they're able to do manual shifts. And for those individuals that are exempt from EVV, we also have manual entry through our GT portal.
Great, thank you. The next question is noted for all agencies. Can the employee submit handwritten timesheets, or is the portal the only way to submit timesheets? So we'll start with GT.
So as Kirsten just said, we have to follow the EVV requirements. If there are individuals that are exempt from this, we do offer some other ways to submit timesheets manually. If individuals don't have devices to be able to utilize the EVV option, we do have devices that we're able to provide the families. So yes.
Great, thank you. The ARC, can you share, can employees submit handwritten timesheets, or is the portal the only way?
Thanks, Rhonda. So yeah, electronic visit verification compliance requires electronic timekeeping, which is something that's going to be available through Fms Engine and specifically through EVI, a module within Fms Engine that does offer an app that's compatible with smartphones and tablets. There is no means that I'm aware of to submit paper timesheets. If the state allows an exemption for participants, we'd certainly be open to working with that participant and exploring other alternatives.
Thank you. PPL, can you share if employees can submit handwritten timesheets, or is the portal the only way?
Public Partnerships does have options outside of our portal to actually submit timesheets, and that's our telephony option. And then we do have some other options that are available with telephony. They do use a phone to be able to clock in and clock out for their providers and verify time. So we do have other options for those individuals who do not have the ability to actually use our mobile applications or our My Account system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
GT Independence, a follow-up question related to your Caregiver App. The question is, does the available staff feature include nursing support services? So are nurses an option in there?
So for programs that allow self-direction related to nurses, they certainly can be available. Majority of the programs that we serve are doing caregiver personal care attendants. But we do have some states that allow nursing self-direction and or other types of vendors like physical therapists, occupational therapists, so on and so forth. And any of those vendors that are allowed are inside of the Caregiver Link.
Rhonda, would be noted within the Caregiver Link on the types of trainings that they have. So individuals would be able to see that by the type of training.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So this next question is going to be for all agencies again. So the question is, our county requires sick leave. Will any of you help us to keep track of that for our employees. So GT, tracking of sick leave, required sick leave for employees.
Yes, we do have experience keeping your sick leave and making sure that's available for employees and employers to view through the portal, as well as making sure the utilization management is applied correctly related to the use and carryover of sick leave.
The Art, can you share how you would help track sick leave?
Absolutely. So sick and safe leave, if it's in the participant budget based on the state they reside in, sick and safe leave will be tracked through Fms Engine. So you will have access to that data through the participant. And you will be able to allocate that time on timesheets based on the availability of the balance.
Great, thanks. And PPL, can you share how you would help to assist track sick leave?
I'm going to pass that over to Sandy.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, for all the methods above that were just mentioned, we would be able to track it. It'll be visible in my account. It'll be visible, when they log in. It also will be on their pay stub, so people can understand what their balance is on their sick leave.
Great, thank you. The next question is for the ARC. The question says, currently the ARC, how do you justify a rate not competitive with the other providers?
Absolutely. So I was expecting this question. We've gotten it a few times, and I'm happy to speak to it. So it's important for people to know that the ARC's rate of $200 is actually a reduction from the current average rate of $250 per month. As what I'll share with you is that as a nonprofit legacy provider in Maryland for the last 20 years, we find ourselves at a critical juncture where we're making those investments in new technology, in infrastructure, and other tools necessary for the job and for the state's new requirements. So it's really around our commitment to continuing to serve the 1,800 plus participants that we currently do. Our tools that we're working on, we've been focused on Fms Engine implementation for about the past 7 or 8 months, and our tools are being specifically tailored to Maryland stakeholders. Fms Engine is customized software with customer service resources at every level. So we're really looking forward to sharing that with our stakeholders. And lastly, I'll just share that the ARC's vision of supporting people in self-direction has always been to go above and beyond. We provide education, customer service, tools, and resources, and our track record has shown this. We don't expect that to change at all.
Great, thank you, Tracy. The next question is for GT Independence. Where is GT Independence main office located?
Thank you for the question, Rhonda. So we do have a couple of offices in Maryland. Our one that we currently have is an internal facing one, but by the end of August, we will have our external facing Maryland office available. If you're asking where our headquarters office is, it's in a small town called Sturgis, Michigan. And this is where we grew up and have continued to provide services throughout the country from here.
We actually serve in 20 different states, and we serve over 40,000 people. So we often have local offices in the states we serve, including in Maryland, where we'll have more than one.
Thank you. This question is for all 3 providers. So the question is, will all 3 providers pay state tax for providers who live in Pennsylvania but provide services in Maryland? GT?
Thank you. We are able to pay taxes based on where the employee lives and also where the work is being performed. So we're very adept at being able to pay out-of-state taxes, local taxes, and state taxes and county taxes, as well as the federal.
Thank you.
A very direct answer, yes.
The ARC?
Thanks, Rhonda. This is another one that I'm going to hand over to Lee, since this falls clearly into her wheelhouse. Lee?
Thank you. We only pay taxes in the state of Maryland. We don't handle any other taxes for any other state.
Thank you. PPL?
I'm going to pass that over to Sandy.
Yeah, I have to like double click really quick. Yes, we will pay taxes. We have a very robust tax team that is aware. It's not uncommon for states to have people live in one side of the state and work in the other side. So the short answer is yes, we will pay those taxes for somebody who works in Pennsylvania or lives in Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Another question that's being asked for all three agencies. The question is there a ticketing system for participant questions/issues? If not, what is the method to handle, track, and resolve issues? So PPL, do you have a ticket system for participant questions issues? And if not, what is the method to handle, track, and resolve issues?
At PPL, we actually have our system where it's called a case number. And so when providers or participants call into PPL, they'll actually speak with a customer service agent who will open a case. When they open that case, they'll receive that actual case number. And so that'll be given to them, and they can use that when they reach out to our organization with any questions, any person they speak with, they'll be able to provide them that case number and they'll have access to that.
Great, thank you. And I apologize for reversing the order, so sorry about that. It's just been a long day. So GT, would you like to respond to that question? Is there a ticketing system for participant questions issues? If not, what is the method to handle, track, and resolve issues?
Perfect. Thank you, Rhonda. Yes. So like we talked about earlier, our customer service average is about a 35-second to live person rating. Through that system, we are logging all of our communications through a call log software. So anytime an individual calls, that call log pops up so that our team can review what the latest conversations were with that individual and be up to date on what that issue is or concern is that they may be calling about again. So that is tracked. Any unresolved questions or concerns that are given are escalated and reviewed on a daily basis to ensure that we're following up and finalizing all of those questions.
It's really a cohesive feature that allows us to make sure when somebody calls in, sometimes they're not having to repeat everything all over again. We have everything right there at our fingertips to make sure we know exactly what they're calling about and how to resolve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy, same question. Is there a ticketing system for participant questions/issues? If not, what is the method to handle, track, and resolve issues?
Absolutely. Thanks, Rhonda. So yes, the ARC uses a robust ticketing system. We've been using the same ticketing system for about the past 3 years or so. And there's even webinars on our website that show about how to use a ticket system. You could open up a ticket tonight if you have a question. So that ticketing system is what we're going to rely on to ensure that we're answering customer service concerns or issues or just questions in a very timely manner. Our commitment is to respond to all inquiries through the customer service ticket system in 1 business day.
Great, thank you. Another question for each agency. What is the pay period time? 1 week, 2 weeks, question mark. GT, can you talk about your pay period time?
Absolutely. Pay in Maryland is required to happen every 2 weeks, and that's how we have our payroll set up.
Great, thank you. Art?
Thanks, Rhonda. Yes, our payroll schedule is every 2 weeks as well, and you can look at the schedule. It's posted on our website.
Thank you. PPL?
In line with the other 2 FMCSs, PPL's payroll schedule is every 2 weeks, and it is posted on our website as well as provided to all participants and their providers and vendors.
Thank you. Another question for each agency. The question is, do you have an automated system for mileage and expense reimbursement requests, or is it a paper form that is emailed?
So we do have for mileage expenses, we're working on through the app for individuals to be able to claim their miles through the app in an electronic form as well. Currently, that is a paper document that they are submitting. If they have a good or service that they want reimbursed, there is a form to fill out to where the participant is approving the spending of those dollars for that good and service. And then we take that and use that document to issue any payments for vendors, goods, or services.
Great, thank you. Tracy, do you have an automated system for mileage and expense reimbursement request, or is it a paper form that is emailed?
So at this time, mileage and vendor payment request forms are all via paper. However, by history, you've been submitting those to us via email. The ARC is excited to announce that we will be implementing a new upload system to where you could upload those forms to us directly. That will also show confirmation of receipt on our end.
Great, thank you. And PPL, do you have an automated system for mileage and expense reimbursement requests, or is it a paper form that is emailed?
Currently, that is a paper form that will be sent in to us, loaded into our My Account system or emailed into us. And then we are also going to be launching the ability for the mileage reimbursements to actually be entered into My Account electronically. So that will be coming very soon.
Thank you. Tracy from the ARC, the question is, for the ARC, will there be any changes to Paycom for EVV compliance?
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes to Paycom. In fact, Paycom will only exist as a payroll distribution resource for us. Instead, we will be implementing Fms Engine, and Fms Engine will have what's called the EVI module as part of the Fms Engine software platform. The EVI module will provide the electronic timekeeping that you're so accustomed to using. It'll look a little bit different, but the important part is that it also provides for EVV compliance.
Thank you. And so the next question, we'll ask each of you to respond. The question from the attendee is, are apps discussed compatible with desktop computers? So are the EVV apps that you're discussing, is it compatible with a desktop computer? So GT?
Thank you for the question. So our Caregiver app, which is our timekeeping app, is compatible with an Android or iOS device, as well as a tablet. So it could be a phone, smartphone, or tablet. In addition, we have our GT portal, which is available on either of those types of devices and also desktop computers. All offer different ways to submit time, but to do the EVV timekeeping, it's the Caregiver app. If someone doesn't have a device available, we do have multiple strategies to help make sure they have a device. We are assisting individuals in getting devices that may be available to them at no cost. In addition, we have loaner devices that individuals can use.
Great, thank you. Tracy from the ARC, are your apps discussed compatible with desktop computers?
Sure. So the EVI app will be a smartphone or tablet app available on the devices that we've been speaking of tonight. So really it's those smartphones and tablets. However, the employer portal will be a web-based desktop module for employers to review the entries that have been submitted by the employees, and so that they could sign off on that through their dashboard. So that will be web-based, desktop-based, but the other ones would be app.
Great, thank you. And PPL, are the apps discussed compatible with desktop computers?
So the Time for Care application is compatible with iOS and Android systems only. So that means that providers will have to use that application to be able to clock in and clock out. But for an employer, they will be able to go into our My Account system, which can be used on a desktop computer or laptop, tablet, smartphone, and actually review that time and approve that time. So there's two parts to that. We just want to make sure employers know that they can approve.
Great, thank you. Our next question for all three agencies is, will FMCS email statements to the individual's team? Will you email statements to the individual teams? So GT?
Thank you, Rhonda. So if I'm assuming you're referring, or the question referring to monthly report that kind of details out any expenditures that an individual has over the course of a month. So for that, we do have all of those accessible through our GT portal for individuals to be able to see real-time reporting. So as an individual logs a shift, you're going to see those funds continue to take away from their full budget. If an individual prefers not to receive a monthly budget report through our GT portal, we can mail or email those monthly budget reports to the participant.
In addition to that, I would add that different team members will have access to the portal, so they'll be able to see the information that they need to have in order to easily do the job that they're assigned. So like the PPL, for instance.
Great, thank you. So Tracy, will the ARC email statements to the individual teams?
So the participant dashboard that's available to the participant and their team, which includes the CCS and the support broker, will all have access to real-time spending. And I think that's where FMS Engine will bring that level of transparency that's so different from legacy services. So the real-time spending will be available to view in the portal after payroll is processed, after vendors are paid. You'll be able to see that immediately batched to your budget line items.
Thank you. PPL, will you email statements to individual teams?
PPL also uses the real-time spending in our My Account system. So when families log in and the team logs in, so whether that's support brokers, case managers, the state agency logs into our system for that particular participant, they're going to be able to actually view what dollars have been used in real time. So what have we paid to that moment and what are we waiting to pay, right? So what's invoiced. And as you come with PPL, you'll learn what invoice means, but essentially is what's sitting there and waiting for PPL to pay. We do have dashboards that allow for the employer to actually pull that, as well as what other stakeholders they have on their team. So you can pull those reports individually, self-service, and then also our enrollment specialists and our customer service teams can walk everyone through that, as well as me and my colleagues.
Great, thank you. Our next question is, how will our employees be trained on all of this? So can each of you talk about how you would support the participants, employees and staff in terms of the EVV and processes? So GT?
Such great questions. Thank you. So during our enrollment meeting, we train both the participant and their employees on all of the services and how to manage the services, including how to use the Caregiver App and the GT portal. In addition to that, we have built-in tutorials inside of both the GT portal and the Caregiver App. So if anyone has any questions, they can click a button and get short videos that explain how to use different components. And they can also click a different button and get access to a live person via chat or phone call. Also, our Caregiver app is used by our own GT team. And so when you call into our customer service system, you actually get the live person that uses that app every single day to document their own time, and they're experts at helping you learn how to document your time.
Thank you. Tracy from the ARC, can you talk about how employees will be trained on your system?
Absolutely. So our commitment is to support our participants and their employees through this transition and ensure they understand how to achieve the compliance that the state requires. Our EVV videos and other tools and resources will be added to our website very soon in the coming days. We'll also have a live webinar and demonstration or training available just in advance of launching FMS Engine in October. Once that is held, we will add that to our website as well as an additional resource. We also have our customer service team available to support employees and employers through troubleshooting any issues you're experiencing. We're just a phone call or a ticket away.
Thank you. PPL, can you talk about how you would support employees being trained?
At PPL with our enrollment specialist, at that initial meeting, the enrollment specialist actually trains the participant, employer, representative, as well as the employees and providers on how to use our system. So that's the My Account system, our Time for Care mobile application, as well as access any of our tools. On our website, we do have tutorials on how to use our Time for Care application. On YouTube, we have videos on how to use that. And we will also be launching with Maryland monthly webinars. So if people want to come drop in at any time when they're scheduled to actually look to see if that section is for them, then they can drop in and hear about the Time for Care app, our My Account system, whatever items we're training on that day. But they're going to receive that initial training from their enrollment specialists. Our customer service agents also know how to train on the system. So if they call in, our customer service agents have the ability to manage as that person. So we can view exactly what they're viewing and walk them through how to actually access and go through our systems.
Great, thank you. The next question is, are only Wi-Fi available in my area is a nightmare. What happens when tech problems long-term are an issue as far as turnaround time? So Wi-Fi challenges, connection challenges. So GT?
Thank you. We certainly have problem solved that down to the individual level for many people that we serve. We have over 25,000 people using our Caregiver app, and we've helped train and onboard and problem solve any of the issues that they've had along the way. That being said, we usually are able to find local Wi-Fi that's free. For instance, a fast food restaurant or a library that individuals tend to go nearby just in their day-to-day routine. So if your own Wi-Fi doesn't work well on a regular basis, don't worry. Our app works with or without internet service. It will still capture all of the EBB required information when you clock in and clock out, and then it can upload later. As Rob had said when we were presenting earlier, you can actually see a green, yellow, or red button next to each of your time entries, and it'll tell you if it's green, it's already been uploaded to our system. If it's yellow, it's pending upload. If it's red, it's been uploaded and there's an error, like your participant may have rejected your time and you need to fix something. So we're super informative and communicative with the information.
Thank you. Tracy, can you talk about your process if there's Wi-Fi challenges or connectivity?
Absolutely. So what we've grown to learn about the EVI app is it does not require an internet access. You can input the data, clock in and clock out, and the app will hold the data until it has an internet connection, at which time it will then download. And it's grasping the data that's necessary at the time it's necessary, and then once the internet access is established, it's able to post that data to reflect EBB compliance.
Thank you. PPL, can you talk about your system in terms of Wi-Fi connectivity challenges?
So we do have the ability for our Time for Care mobile application to enter into what is called the offline mode. So say you're in an area that really has bad service, and so you typically go into town or some other part that actually has Wi-Fi. So when you're home and the service is bad, our system actually works to capture that time in, time out, and the location that's required for us to capture for EBB. And then what it'll do is it'll store that information without Wi-Fi or internet service or anything. And then once you go into an area that actually has a Wi-Fi service or a cellular service for that device, then you'll be able to see it upload into our system. Now, we do have an option, an alternative, which is our telephony system, which if you're someone who lives in an area where it's just forever, you will never have Wi-Fi, in which there are people who live in areas like that, we do have telephony. So what that does, it allows the provider and the employer to use their phone. Typically, people who live in areas that have issues with connectivity will have a landline that's hardwired into their home. It's not a Wi-Fi service through Xfinity or one of these other cable services. It's actually a hardwired landline. And with that landline, your provider has the ability to actually clock in, clock out. You have the ability to approve that time. So you won't actually need to use our Time for Care mobile application, and you'll still be in compliance with EBB. And you'll be able to access everything you need on that actual telephony system. And then our customer service number, when you call in, will have the ability for your providers as well as you to actually see what time has been approved and what time is waiting to be paid out. So we do have that in our system as well.
Thank you. Our next question is related to the EVV systems and apps that you've been talking about today. And so the question is, are they available for review before the person makes the selection of the FMCS? So can people review and try out your call-in systems? GT?
Thank you, Rhonda. So there's a couple of ways for you to be able to review our system. Number one is if you come to any of the in-person fairs that are going on over the next 4 weeks, we'll have an iPad there available for you to kind of demo and try. We'll have multiple individuals there with the app on our phone to be able to pull out and show how it works in a demo mode. From there, you also have the YouTube videos that show you exactly how to be able to do that. And then the third option is if you want to do it more of a one-on-one and unable to make it to one of those fairs, you can schedule a time and we can pull it up over a video conference such as this and be able to share exactly how to clock in and clock out.
The only other thing I want to add is the slideshow that we created actually have real pictures of what our app looks like and what our portal looks like. So you did get views inside of our system just through our presentation today as well.
Great, thank you. Tracy, can you talk about the option for people to view and try out your system before making a selection?
Absolutely. So Fms Engine actually has a great video series that shows screen captures and has, just plain language training on how to use EVI. We will be adding that to our website in the coming days, very, very soon. We will also be sharing information about Fms Engine and EVI specifically for EVV compliance across the next coming month. And then we will be doing a live webinar and training and demo just before launch in October. So all of that is coming very, very soon. Once that live demo is completed, we'll be able to add that to our website as well. So it's just this living, ongoing resource for folks to have that available.
Thank you. PPL, can you talk about the options available for people to try out your system before making a selection?
At Public Partnerships, our enrollment specialists are available to answer your questions and calls now. So once you call in a PPL, it started today. It's after 5 now. So if you call in and leave a message, our team will call you back. But if you start calling tomorrow during business hours, our team will be able to talk with you, walk you through it if you're available and would like to. Also, we have YouTube videos that you can type in and find information. It has clear pictures of our actual mobile application. And so it shows you in real time what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be seeing, how you actually do things. So we break those videos based on your role. So if you're a participant, if you're an employer, if you're a provider, what do you see? If you're a case manager, so we have all of those things there. And then also, all of our customer service agents are trained on our mobile application. I'm trained on it, so if folks are coming into our office and meeting some of our great team there, they'll also be able to get some demos done. We will be at the informational fairs. I'll see you there, and we'll have our table there so you can see our mobile application in action. We also have a screen so you can actually see our video. So those will be playing throughout the entire fair so that you'll be able to have access to seeing what you'll be using if you do choose public partnerships.
Thank you. Tracy, a question for the ARC. What have you done to improve your vendor payment process?
So I shared earlier that we are moving to an upload model, and I think that will help our vendor payment process to flow much more smoothly. It's really about volume. One of the changes I think, or challenges we've seen over time also, is that vendors sometimes wait a really long time to submit their payment request, and we may receive honestly a whole year's request at one time, and that type of volume does present challenges for processing. However, when we go to this upload model, we will no longer be experiencing those challenges receiving multiple vendor payment requests through email. I'll also remind folks that we are really leaning into this customer service ticket system as our best means of providing you the most expeditious resolution to your issues. So really, I think people are pretty accustomed to just emailing us and being able to get support through their challenges. I think that the customer service ticket system is going to prove to be a much better means of getting attention to your issue or your question as quickly as possible, making it clear across the board. And really, it's about triaging those tickets. We're going to manage those tickets and see, you know, which ones need, you know, what can we resolve right now, and those will be addressed same day. And then the other ones that if there is any research needed, we will do everything we can to make that happen in one business day, but we will most certainly get back to you within the same day to let you know we've received your inquiry and we're working on that.
Thank you, Tracy. Another question for you is, so if an employee works in Virginia and works in Maryland, how will the taxes be handled?
Lee, I'm going to give you this one too, since it's in your wheelhouse.
So the ARC only withholds Maryland taxes, no matter what state the employee lives in. They only have the ability through our Paycom system to withhold Maryland taxes and Maryland taxes only.
Okay, thank you. So there's a question for each agency. How do you handle payroll when fiscal year end falls in the middle of a pay period? GT, so how do you handle payroll when the fiscal year end falls in the middle of a pay period?
So when it falls in the middle of a pay period, we are ensuring that it's still authorized, right? We also need to make sure that any of those approved claims are submitted in a timely fashion so that we're able to submit our claims and be reimbursed by the state. So I know that the end of a fiscal year can cause some more tighter timeframes or deadlines for individuals to get information to GT, but we will communicate those timelines prior to the end of the fiscal year multiple times with participants and their providers to ensure that everybody is aware of that. We can also push out notifications on our portal or in our Caregiver App so that individuals are aware of when those deadlines are so that they're able to meet them.
Thank you. Tracy, can you talk to us about how the ARC handles payroll when the fiscal year ends in the middle of a pay period?
Sure, absolutely. So when the fiscal year ends in the middle of a pay period, we actually split that pay period from one fiscal year to the other and actually treat it as two separate pay periods and two separate payroll processings, because it is so important to track the division of those two fiscal years. When we are able to share our payroll calendar, it will clearly define when that time period happens, and those early submittal dates will be posted with that new payroll calendar, as you can see it currently is posted that way on the current payroll calendar for 2022. I will also add that we send notifications out to people well in advance. I think this year we started notifying people in early May what our timelines were for early submittal for the end of pay period. So for us, it's really all about communication, making sure everyone has the information available to them to know when we will require those documents in order to ensure we can process those in time.
Great, thank you. PPL, can you share how you would handle payroll when the fiscal year end falls in the middle of a pay period?
Public partnership systems allow for us to not interrupt our payroll schedule, so providers and vendors will get paid as they normally would, and our accounting and tax teams have the ability to make sure that they're capturing those services through that end of the actual fiscal year date. And so we'll actually be able to track that information. So we don't have to split up our payroll schedules. We're able to actually report all the required information based on that point in time. So if it ends on 6/30, we'll make sure that we have all of our reporting and information to the state for dates through 6/30. Also, our authorizations in our system will reflect the same. So all funding used through the end of that budget, which will be the end of that fiscal year, are going to show in our system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy, we have a question about the FMCS fees. Is the fee a beginning fee? Will it increase yearly?
That's a really great question. So each FMCS kind of has a layout of the next 5 years in their FMCS fees. Those are available on the DDA's website. So some of the FMCSs have a change planned and for each year beginning on July 1st, and some do not.
Thank you, Christy. So question for the agencies again. It says, back on the payroll question, how long after submitting a payroll period do you process paychecks? So after payroll period, the timesheets goes in, how long does it take to process paychecks?
Hi there, thanks for the question. We are able to receive the payroll and process the paycheck just like the other two providers have said. We have our payroll schedule posted, so you can see exactly when time is due and then also when paychecks are issued. There's usually just a few days in between when we receive the time and then pay out the payroll. We don't hold back.
So typically, what a pay period is every 2 weeks, Sunday through Saturday for a 2-week pay period. That time is due on the following Monday and is typically paid on that following Friday. So time due Monday, paid 5 business days later on that Friday.
Great, thank you. Tracy, can you talk about your process in terms of how you handle payroll how you process the paychecks when submitting a payroll period due process?
Yeah, sure. So our pay periods are 2-week pay periods. We typically receive, and again, that payroll calendar is available on our website now. We typically receive those timesheets, right now paper timesheets, but that will be transitioning. But time entries are due on Monday night, and then payroll is provided 2 weeks later on the Friday.
Great. And PPL, can you talk about your pay period?
Okay. PPL's payroll schedules are posted on our website. And for PPL, the way that it works is, again, we pay out every 2 weeks. The time entries are due in our time for care application by a specific date by midnight. And then we have our specific day that we actually process out those payrolls, and it's all listed on our payroll schedule. We do have a vendor payroll schedule that we have in our system as well that will be posted on our website. So some vendors, depending on the service, will have a variation in when they're paid, and that's because of the way that that service works. But we do have those listed. So there's just 2 payroll schedules, one that's specific for vendor invoices, and then one that is actually for our independent providers.
Great, thank you. Christy, a question for you. How often can a participant change their FMCS?
It's a really great question. When we were developing the program standards for the FMCS transition, we wanted to make it as simple as possible for people to change as they want to and need to. We have sort of suggested to people to make sure that they're switching on a tax quarter, just so it'll be easiest for employees when it comes to their tax forms that they're going to receive.
Thank you. Another question says, how does the individual approve the request for such things as mileage and vendor requests? So if each agency can again share how the participant would approve the request for such things as mileage and vendor request. So GT?
Thank you, Rhonda. So again, the mileage form would be, the employee would write down their mileage that they used. The participant would approve that on that mileage form by signing off on it, just like they would any other service that they're approving. When it comes to a good or a service that they're approving, it should be in their plan up front, and then they're going to notify us when exactly they want to purchase that good or service through a one-page form that just says, this is a service that I want, this is the cost associated with it, and I'm approving the payment for this good or service.
Great, thank you. Tracy, can you answer the same question? How does the individual approve the request for such things as mileage and vendor request?
Sure. So very similarly, we have a mileage reimbursement request form and we have a vendor payment request form. For mileage, the employees would note their specific trips in line with their service codes that they're working. And then the employer would review and approve that document, and it would be submitted to us via our new upload system that will be coming soon. And vendor payment request forms are similarly completed by the employer to note the service, and then invoices and supporting documentation are submitted with that vendor payment request form to us for processing.
Thank you, Tracy. And PPL, can you also share how does the individual approve the request for such things as mileage and vendor requests?
I'm going to go ahead and pass that one to Sandy. You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm not used to speaking on that. So could you repeat the question? I apologize.
Sure. How does the individual approve the request for such things as mileage and vendor request?
The individual, or how do we? Because the individual would be approving it the same way that they approve timesheets in our system, or the way that they would be submitting the invoices to us, as we spoke to a little bit earlier.
Okay, great. And PPL follow-up, can you clarify how long after a pay period has been submitted do you process paychecks? Example, submitted on Sunday, paid by when?
We are picking up the ARC's payroll schedule so that there would be no disruption to the individual. So the dates that they submit, typically that they are used to submitting in the timeline from that date of submittal approval to payday would be exactly the same. And we have that posted on our website.
Great, thank you. And I'm gonna turn this back over to Monica as we approach 7 o'clock. So Monica.
Thank you, Rhonda. Donna, can you go on to the last slide? So I just want to close out by saying thank you for everyone. We appreciate you attending the informational fair kickoff today. I know this is the second session, but thank you very much for joining us this evening. There are in-person sessions planned throughout the state during the full month of August. So please register via Constant Contact if you're interested. And please let us know if you have any special accommodations. Also, masks are required to attend, and we will have those available at each site. In addition, we will have fairs scheduled in October, and we will post those dates in the next coming weeks. And we'd ask that you visit the DDA website for more information. Once again, thank you all so very much for joining us this evening, and have a great day.